Milan are looking to do a little bit of business as well. I think United initially thought they might be onto a winner with them taking someone off their hands, but I'm not sure where that stands now. Not looking so good. Maybe he'll find another Italian home. But is it Victor Boniface is the latest to be linked with AC Milan?
Yeah, this is expected to happen now. I mean, he had that deal to Saudi that fell through at the last minute where they just sort of changed their mind and pulled the plug from the deal. And now maybe it worked out better for him because he wanted to stay in Europe anyway. It was just obviously that the Saudi contract was huge. Now at AC Milan with a loan fee of €5 million, there's a buy option there, not mandatory. So it's an option, not an obligation for the striker. So, he's landed on his feet there. As you said, though, it looked like Rasmus from United was going there, didn't it? Højlund, everyone expected that. But, I mean, it's telling that, sounds horrible, but no one really wants Rasmus, do they? Especially maybe at the wages or the price. That's quite telling. However, the only latest link with Rasmus is Napoli. And people might think, hold on, Napoli have got loads of players and bought well. Yeah, but Lukaku's got a bad injury. So he's expected to miss a good few months of the season. So they've sort of jumped back into the market there. So something like a loan has been suggested for Rasmus to Napoli, may just work out for United through Lukaku's injury.
Yeah, you can see that one, actually. That does make a little bit of sense, and it'd be very United to loan the fella. Let's go to Dortmund now. They always have an eye on the Premier League. They love the Premier League for a little bit of recruitment, and of course it goes both ways with Dortmund. Who are the people currently being linked, and is Sancho one of them?
This is funny. I mean, Dortmund are trying to pick the pockets a little bit of Chelsea, aren't they? They want Anselmino, the young centre-half. Remember how all of a sudden Maresca said, I haven't got any centre-halves, I need any, but he's looking at shipping out Disasi, Anselmino, and probably a different conversation. So they're looking at getting Anselmino in on loan, and also Chuck Wemeke. So they're trying to make, but Chelsea saying no loan. It's got to be permanent for that one. So we'll see if anything develops there, trying to, pinch them on a cheap deal. As is on the screen as well, they made a move from Toulouse, Charlie Creswell, part of England's under-21 European Championship winning teams. They're trying to pick him up for a decent price as well. And you mentioned that name, Jadon Sancho. I mean, Jadon Sancho's turned down, 4 or 5 deals or transfers, Roma being the latest one this summer. All the suggestions from doing a bit of digging is that he still wants to go back to Dortmund again, and Dortmund are prepared to do it. Like we said last week, it could well just be one of those that happens at deadline day where Dortmund end up paying a £5 and a walnut whip a week contribution towards his massive wages, which would just show how comical United is realistically. But yeah, there is a possibility that Premier League English players, Dortmund might be plundering a fair few.
And we kind of finish with something that is, like I said, that does have a little bit of a Liverpool connection, in that Marseille are one of those clubs that I heard mentioned in relation to one of our left backs. But they are also looking at doing bits in and out. And there seems to be some discord in general around the club. Maybe if you could lay out the story here, because there's a nice little bit of soap opera for us to finish the show with.
I know you love a bit of soap opera, and nothing could be more soap opera when Adrien Rabiot's ma, and De Zerbi are involved in this, because what 3 characters they are in the mix. I mean, there's a big fight breaks out between Jonathan Rowe, who was part of the England under-21 squad that won the Euros and was at Marseille, and Rabiot, and apparently it just goes on and on. It doesn't stop. And long story short, Trev, it ends up with both being put on the transfer list because of their actions and not letting it go. Now, who could have thought that Adrien Rabiot could be trouble? I mean, there were no clues at Juventus, was there? There were no clues at Paris Saint-Germain that, Rabiot could be a bit of a troublemaker. It's not like Rabiot's ma isn't bad, although Veronique is a bit of a legend in football circles, isn't she, realistically? I mean, as well, what a comment. I thought I'd experienced the worst with PSG. Well, I was wrong. Yeah, but if your son's going to start fights in training, Veronique, there's maybe just a thing. And, he's caused trouble at all his clubs so far. But obviously, if you're golden boy, is your golden boy. And I mean, then Trev, she makes comments that, about second chances and links it to Mason Greenwood's situation as well. I mean, like, could you be more tone deaf, or like, this probably just shows you how it is. At which point, De Zerbi comes out, that calm, cool, collected character, Roberto De Zerbi, and says, I will not be bullied or things into taking a player back. Does say Rabiot's apologised, but he's on the transfer list at the same time. Rowe looks like he's going to move on to Bologna. The smart money says De Zerbi, Veronique, straightener in the car park, 9:30 tonight. Winner stays, loser leaves Marseille. That's my money.
De Zerbi's getting his arse handed to him in that one. I'm afraid it's just going one way. Two things then before we finish, because that's in terms of the stories that we have on our agenda as such. Is there anything breaking about the break that you've been keeping in a vault, or anything that's just taking your fancy there as we've gone through it that you want to expand upon just before we get to a kind of a wrap-up thought that I have for you?
No, the only thing I saw is that, funnily enough, we mentioned Tyler Dibbling, and Everton look like they're set to do a deal for that any second. Ornstein sort of tweeted that in the last minute or so that's expected to happen. We were talking before we came on the air, and we almost said this show was a little bit like the eye of the storm. It's all gone quiet a little bit, but you were right at the way you phrased it. It's all gone quiet because we are at the whims and mercies of other clubs a little bit now, isn't it? And it's a case of, can they get their shit together, these other clubs? As much as we talk about Isak wanting it and all that, it ain't going to happen unless Newcastle get at least one, maybe two attackers through the door. So we're at the whims of that next week. We're at the whims of Glasner, Parish. How's that going to work out? To see if that gets done. And that's before you even talk about if there's a chance then to pivot and these alternative attackers could come in as well, or it's a third on top. It is just, that's why it's the eye of the storm, this one. But the reason we wanted to do it tonight is to almost bring it up to date. Because when we do one Tuesday after the Newcastle game, it could well just be crazy time.
Yeah, the eye of the storm is a great analogy for where we are with the Liverpool transfer window. It really is. It sums it up perfectly. Unfortunately, what happens quite often in the eye of the storm is nothing, and famously so. And then you can find yourself in a situation where the storm has passed you as well. That can also happen. And it's hard for those of us with a realism sort of, rather than a pessimism or an optimism. I don't tend to go either way. I used to be a real pessimist because my philosophy was, well, then you can't be disappointed, but that's bullshit because you're constantly disappointed if you're a pessimist. And I can't really live in complete optimism land because I'm too old. I've seen too much, man. But I do have, I'm curious. People talk about how, look, this crowd of players won us the league. Right, but we've moved quite a few of those on. So we've also got quite a few really good lads in who have yet to bed in, etc., etc. If it was to close now with no further business, if it is Isak or bust, if it is Guehi or bust, and there is no plan B and there is no pivot, what do you make of us going into the season then? Wouldn't it be just the ultimate irony if this window ended up with that sort of a disappointing feel to it? And is that us being incredibly entitled and spoiled to even suggest that it has that, they could have that disappointing feel to it when we've busted a load of money out on Ekitike and Wirtz and all the rest of them?
No, I don't think it is. I think if you look at last season, ultimately the other teams weren't that great at times, but what was the key factor in us winning the league? It was our firepower, wasn't it? We had a collection of 6 attackers, if Diaz didn't do it, Gatko could come off the bench and vice versa. It was the firepower that really set us apart a little bit than everything else, I would say. Because the other teams couldn't score goals a lot of the time, wasn't it? Despite Leghead putting 9 behind the ball and all those, scenarios. This season now, as you said, if it's to finish right now, the first team firepower is very good. You look at, Ekitike looks a good buy with Salah and all this, but as a collective, it looks very short all of a sudden, doesn't it? So, yeah, I think what was our strength last season could become an area you're looking at thinking, Christ, we look short. And we also look short, as in one injury, we could look desperately short up there, couldn't we, as well? So, yeah, if it shuts now, I could understand why people would be massively concerned. It's a big 10 or 11 days coming up. Simple as that.
Yeah, it sure is. Right, we should wrap it up. And thanks to everyone who's been contributing in the chat panel. Always makes me laugh to see how far away from our current topic the conversation has got. There's a whole injury conversation going on, and I wasn't aware of the physiology involved in your groin falling off, but Midnight Toker assures us that's a real thing that can happen. So fair play. I'm absolutely believing that. But we should wrap it up, Dave. We've gone through all there is to go through, and like you said, I'm going to give you the last word here after thanking you for yet another show of putting together all this information. It's fair to say we will need to go early-ish after the Newcastle game. Are we currently going to focus on Tuesday? Should we give ourselves a bit more elbow room and go for Wednesday? What do you think? Are people just going to be hungry for a Tuesday regardless?
I think we pencil it in for Tuesday. If there's maybe something, should we say, quote unquote, developing, we should hope there is, because obviously it's getting seriously late in the day. We pencil it in till Wednesday. But yeah, it's either going to get into the stage Tuesday, Wednesday, Trev, where it's excitement abounds and we're getting ready for, a lift-off type of thing, or we are at the stage where we are crying, bring out your dead. Hopefully it's the first one.
Let's hope it's the first one. Until then, good luck.